Or welcome everybody. We got another edition of the RMAC Baseball Weekly. This is episode 7. I'm the RMAC Insider, and uh, my usual co-host here, Jace Hinton. He had some coaching baseball obligations down by Las Vegas, New Mexico, there, and then had an awards ceremony tonight. So we had quite the hitter friendly weekend this last weekend. So I thought, hey, nothing better than to find a former pitcher in the RMAC to kind of give us maybe some insights of how weekends like that go and, what pitching is like in, the RMAC in general. So with me today is Hunter Owens. And Hunter, want to thank you very much for taking the time to do this with me and, yeah, kind of share your baseball knowledge and insight. And I'll go ahead and introduce yourself and kind of let everybody know who you are.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I think this was a great weekend to have a pitcher on. I mean, you have a team score 29 runs, 33 runs, and another 20 runs. I mean, on that Sunday, you had 100 runs scored alone between four teams. I mean, I think it's a fantastic week to have a pitcher on. Yeah, I pitched at UCCS from 2018 to 2024. I was there for 6 years. Between COVID, I was a redshirt freshman, and then I had a redshirt for a labrum tear. But later in my years, I was a relief pitcher for UCCS. I started one game and came out of the bullpen several times throughout my career.
Sure. And now my understanding is you're in what, Western Colorado at this point?
Yep, I'm in Western Colorado. I'm actually near Grand Junction. I live in a very, very small town called Debec, Colorado. I would say there's about 500 people here. At least that's what Google says. I don't think that's very accurate, but if you ask the people around here, there's probably about 500 people.
So kind of having gone to college at UCCS and playing ball there and being living close to Grand Junction, then I mean, how is it going to games there? Is that something you can do, or just can't stand the place, or how is it living over there and catching some RMAC games over there?
No, it's great. I mean, when I get the opportunity to go and catch some games, not only when UCCS plays Mesa, but some other games when Mesa plays Metro or Pueblo or Adams, my wife and I try to get out there and watch some games here and there and just, you know, see what's going on, see how Mesa's doing. We were able to make it up to the UCCS and Mesa series a couple weeks ago. That was awesome. We were able to go up to Splizio Field, and they did the firework night that night. It was a great game, by the way. UCCS coming back and making a close game, but couldn't come back. Just not enough there. But it was, when we're able to get down there, it's great, and it's a great atmosphere down there at Mesa. People are always very welcoming.
Sure. Yeah, I've been to Grand Junction a few times and I've actually, seen, the diamond. I haven't actually been able to watch a game there, but it looks amazing. Just the
Field's
facilities
amazing.
down there. Yep. Yep.
Field, they do a great job at taking care of that field down there.
Sure. So yeah, again, thank you so much for agreeing to jump on with me here today and helping me through this. And but yeah, let's get going and we'll kind of start how we typically do and kind of look at the standings here. And we have Mesa, in first at 28-0 in the conference, and they've sealed and clinched that first place spot. So they'll be hosting the RMAC tournament when that starts up in what, about a week or maybe a little less than that.
Yeah, we'll start on Wednesday. I mean, games will start on Wednesday and they'll go Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I mean, I think, I know we're gonna get into predictions a little bit later, but like, do we think Mesa can go 32-0 in conference and go undefeated?
Nice. Definitely the way that they've been going. I mean, they're on quite the streak at this point. Yeah, the way things are going, it seems like they may be able to get that accomplished here. But they play the number two team in the conference, MSU Denver, at this point at 23-5, and MSU Denver, they're looking at making sure that they can clinch that second seed in the conference tournament. With UCCS kind of right behind them at 19, 8-1. If UCCS were to sweep Pueblo this weekend and Denver were to get swept, UCCS is going to, slip into that number two spot. But I guess we'll see what happens in those two series. It'll be a fun weekend. So with that fourth spot, then right now Pueblo's there at 16-12. They would have to basically sweep in order to jump into that third spot. Um, Otherwise, yeah, if they don't sweep, they're going to be at that fourth seed. Carl School Mines, 14-18. They play MSU Billings this weekend in a 3-game stint, I believe it is, and a non-conference matchup. So they're not going to be able to improve their record. So they're also not going to be able to get caught by Regis, Christian, Adams State, or New Mexico Highlands. So they've sealed and clinched that fifth seed in the conference tournament. But then we have the sixth seed kind of up for grabs. And I mean,
A lot of teams.
what are your kind of thoughts of that sixth seed and how things are kind of looking or maybe panning out here?
And when you look at it, I mean, after this last weekend with UCCS and Metro, I mean, if Metro would have swept, then we would have had maybe a winner take all series on who's going to host the tournament. I mean, and I can't remember the last time that went down the last weekend. I mean, Mesa's been pretty good about years prior locking it up early, but I think this UCCS and Pueblo, there might be a pretty good chance that they end up playing each other in the tournament as well.
Yep. Yeah, and MSU Denver, they came out in that UCCS series looking like they were gunning to make sure that this last series against Mesa, would determine where home field was going to be. The way that they were swinging the bats, and we'll kind of get to that a little bit later. But yeah, they kind of fell one game short there of sweeping that UCCS series, but basically locking up that number one seed for Mesa. But yeah, with those last four teams there, Regis, they win two. Well, I guess if they win three, they would definitely seal the
Yep.
sixth seed.
Yep.
Uh,
I mean, as long as Regis is able to take care of business, then they're going to lock up that 6th seed. But I mean, if Adams gives them anything, then it's going to get real interesting. If Adams is able to take a couple games, this whole 6th seed is going to get real interesting. It opens the door for Colorado Christian, even opens the door for New Mexico Highlands sitting there at the last seed right now. I mean, a lot of wacky things can happen this last weekend.
and in the RMAC, it's almost destined to happen. So, um,
Always, always.
yeah, let's take a look then at the National Collegiate Baseball Writers Association rankings. I'm afraid this might be a little small, so apologize for that. But we have Colorado Mesa as the number one team in the nation. Still, been quite a few weeks in a row that they've been in that top spot and have retained that top spot. As far as the next RMAC team that we see is going to be MSU Denver in receiving votes down there at receiving 7 votes at this point. But, I mean, really, from what I've seen from Mesa, this year, not surprised at all that they're, in that number one spot. I mean, they just kind of seem like something else.
Yeah, I mean, they're taking care of business week in, week out, whether it's pitching, picking up the slack, or if it's hitting, picking up the slack, fielding, picking up the slack. I mean, a lot of things got to go right if you win 24, 25 straight games. I mean, they have done really well this year. I am interested to see once we get past the RMAC tournament how they will fare when we get into the NCAA tournament. But again, I mean, it's great to see Metro being able to get some votes and getting up there potentially. I know that they were in there earlier in the season until the Mountain Lions knocked them out a little bit, and Mountain Lions gave them a little bit of a hard time earlier in the year. But they've done great. Mesa's done great. I mean, they've earned the top spot. I think Tampa's right there with them, with Tampa winning last year as well.
Yep, yep, exactly. And you talk about be interested to see how they do when the regional tournament starts.
Mm.
And here we have the D2 baseball rankings, and I was talking to you about this before we jumped on here. With Will Connerly and Robert Fry, uh, in the amount of D2 baseball that these guys watch, the fact that they have Colorado Mesa at number one and that they've, Mesa's been there for, quite some time as well. Uh, to me, I think, I feel very comfortable about Mesa getting into the regional rounds of that
Mhm.
national tournament and being able to not just compete with them, but basically, advance out of that regional round. Just with Fry and Connerly having them at number one and just them knowing the D2 landscape across the nation.
Yeah, I mean the expectations are high for them. I mean they are year in and year out. They've created that there, but something about this year, maybe they're able to get over the hump, maybe able to get over they've slid a little bit from Angelo State once they've gotten the super regionals the last couple of years. So, hopefully they're able to get over that hump and maybe make a College World Series appearance.
Yeah, definitely. And UT Tyler, if I recall correctly, I think they fell just short
Hmm.
last year. And the last couple of years they've had a great team and have kind of given the RMAC team some fits. So I think this year though, I mean, this Colorado Mesa team is a little bit different than the great teams that they've had the last few years. I think that kind of that pitching, the pitching has been phenomenal
Pitch
for Mesa.
great. Yeah, I mean when we look at the RMAC, I mean they're above everyone else by a good margin from an ERA standpoint. I mean they're sitting high threes and everyone else is you know, 6 or a 7 ERA at this point. I mean, they've really been able to hunker down from that standpoint. And, to be the number one team in Division Two, you got to do stuff like that.
Yep, and they're doing it. They're getting it done. So
Exactly.
well, I kind of like we talked about at the beginning of the show. It was quite the weekend last weekend. Definitely a hitter friendly, weekend. And but let's kind of jump in and we can kind of look at some of the highlights of the series from last weekend. We'll start here with the Regis New Mexico Highlands series, and here's game one, and in the bottom of the first, Ryan Rodriguez, he's going to get the Cowboys on the board as he brings in two with a single up the middle. Going into the top of the sixth, Regis Linus Fleek, he's going to actually get the Rangers, the lead here as he brings in two on a single to right field. Then in the top of the sixth, New Mexico Highlands, Ty Gasado, he singles to right field, bringing in two to tie the game at five at that point. Jumping to the bottom of the seventh, Tandem Wed Tate, he puts Highlands up 9-5 off of a two RBI double into right center. Then in the uh, top of the eighth, Jack Mullen, he doubles to center field, bringing in two, both the Linus Fleek and George Smith score, and Regis cuts that deficit to one, with Highlands leading it 9-8 at that point. Then in the bottom of the ninth here, kind of an odd way to take the lead, we have the runner at first, Ethan Ralph stealing second. The throw by the catcher is off mark, and as a result, Dylan Perry's come in to score, and Regis ends up taking game one of this series, 10-9. What kind of this series, kind of as a whole, going into it, and kind of what you saw in game one. Any surprises or anything that kind of caught your eye?
Oh, looking at it, I think Regis was expected to go in there and take care of business. I think it was a little bit closer game than they would have liked. Their bats had to come alive at the end of the game for sure. I mean, scoring 5 runs in the eighth and ninth inning to be able to seal a win is huge, especially with them on the bubble right now with Highlands, Adams, and Christian right now. Being able to take one game from Highlands and separate themselves is just really big. Um, and, Gregory coming in and doing a good job, even though he didn't pitch a whole lot, he did what he needed to do to help his team win. Ethan Wood and Jack Mullen have been great all year for Regis, and they continue to put their best foot forward when it counts.
Yeah, I mean Ethan Wood is, I mean he's amazing. I mean he's reigning RMAC freshman, player of the year, and boy, he hasn't had a sophomore slump at all. I mean
Mhm.
it's just picked up right where he left off, and just getting better and better as the season's gone on, and it's gonna be fun watching this guy throughout his collegiate career.
Mhm.
Um, So heading into game two, Regis has a big first inning, putting five on the board. They actually get three doubles, in this first inning here. We didn't get Ethan Woods on there, but Bobo Iandoli, he doubles down the left field line. Then Park Romney, he doubles, to center field here to bring in, another, actually brings in Iandoli. Then Aiden Harrison, he's going to hit a triple to right center, bring in Romney. And yeah, 5-0 lead, at the end of, top of the first. I mean, that's going to, really kind of go a long ways of getting a win here. Going into then the top of the fifth, we have Iandoli again. He, hits a solo shot, basically go along with this double that he had earlier in the game. Nikolai Arnold then doubles down to left center, bringing in Romney, and it's going to be 8-1 Regis, at that point in the top of the seventh, Aiden Harrison, he singles to left field, bringing in two, and you know, Regis ends up, running away with this one, 13-4, and they're going to take a 2-0 lead. And with Regis kind of up 2-0 at this point, anything surprising to you, or kind of what you were expecting when you saw
I
the
would say
series?
I would say what we expected at this point. I mean, Regis does a great job jumping out to an early lead, but we all know the RMAC. Anyone can come back at any point,
Yep.
and Highlands came back a little bit, but Regis was able to finish the job at the end of the day. I mean, again, you see the same guys in the stat column there that have just been showing up for Regis. Um, I wouldn't say there was anything surprising. I mean, I think Regis handled what they needed to do to put them in the best position going into the last weekend.
Yeah, and they definitely did. And, you know, they did it against a Highlands team that was coming off of a sweep, the weekend before. I mean, their first sweep since 2021. I mean, they're kind of, riding high, kind of full of confidence and, playing good baseball. And, this entire season, you could just see Highlands kind of be right there. I mean, they would have that, lost by one run and then by two runs, but it seemed like they're in a
They're
vast
right
majority of
there.
these games and just not getting it done. And then they got that sweep. And then kind of coming into this game, going down 2-0, kind of fell for them a little bit. And um, yeah, but we're headed then into game three at this point. And, here in game three, top of the third, Ethan Wood. I mean, the man himself, man, myth, the legend. He's going to extend Regis' lead to 2-0. In the bottom of the fourth, though, Seth Galfano gets New Mexico Highlands on the board with a double to left center, bringing in Ryan Rodriguez. Well, score is going to be tied 4-4 going into the bottom of the fourth. We're going to have Seth Galfano again. He has yet another double. This one to right center as opposed to left center to bring in a run and put Highlands up 5-4. We go to the uh, the seventh inning. We have Ethan Wood again, and he just does what he does. I mean, this is the second home run of the game, and cuts Highlands lead 8-5, and Regis is kind of keeps it rolling at that point. In the top of the ninth, George Smith, he's going to single to right field, bringing in Ethan Ralph, and Regis is going to take game three 9-8. A lot closer than the last game, and uh, kind of showing how competitive, Highlands, is
Mhm.
this year in this series. I mean, what 10-9 game one, 13-4 is a little off in game two here, but another one-run game here at 9-8, and it's just kind of like that Highlands team that we've seen that is just right there, just not quite getting over the hump, getting it done.
They're so close. I mean, just like the first game or the second game where Regis won 13-4, like Highlands started to climb back a little bit, but then Regis was able to put them away. And Highlands had the opportunity here to kind of start to creep back and keep going. And Regis was able to come back. I mean, again, Wood doing what he does. He continues to do what he needs to do for the team. But I mean, just an absolute heartbreaker for Highlands here. I mean, if looking at the last video there, Smith, 2 strikes on him, counts 0-2. He's able to put the ball in play on the right side of the infield and make something happen. I mean, it ends up the game-winning RBI. Just little things here and there is what is separating these last couple teams heading into the last weekend.
Yeah, and little things. I mean, that's exactly right. And but those little things add up to little margins. And
Exactly.
when you're playing in the RMAC, that's what you need. Kind of those little things to get that edge. Um, Going into the last game of that series, then, and uh, here, I mean, this ends up kind of being, something completely different than what we've seen before. Here, Highlands, they're going to jump out, or excuse me, Regis is going to jump out to a 7-0 lead. It's going to start with that Park Romney Grand Slam. I mean, that's always a good way to kind of get momentum and, get a big lead and kind of get the game going. In the bottom of the fifth, Seth Galfano, he singles left center, bringing in two. Highlands cuts the lead 7-3. We get to the seventh, and in the seventh, I mean, this is where Highlands just goes off. They score 10 runs, in the seventh inning. You have Taiga Sato, that double to left field, bringing in two. You have Lovey Marujo, he doubles to left center to bring in another run. We have Tandem Web Tate, he's going to double here to left center, bring in Taiga. 12 runs, in that seventh inning. While Regis is going to try to make a comeback. They're not able to get it. Alex Galvin, he triples to left center, uh, scores 17-12 at that point. But Highlands ends up taking this one 18-12. They avoid the sweep, but yet at the same time, that they were kind of hoping and expecting more than just avoiding a sweep. But
Mhm.
at the same point, uh, you can see what they're capable of and what their potential is, and what they can do is just they just kind of seem to, in my opinion, missed opportunities in the first one, especially game one and three, but in those first three games.
Game 1 and 3, I mean, this series could have easily been a 2-2 split. I mean, looking at the game 3, I mean, like I said last time, you go 0-2 and try to put a batter away and give your offensive chance to win in the bottom of the ninth. But, this is great to see, to be able to have no sweep. But I will say, as we will see a common theme with these game fours, a lot of offense. As a pitcher, I don't know if I really like it, but, fireworks, I will say. Um, believe it or not, this was the third highest game scoring on that Sunday. But, Highlands is able to close the gap a little bit and put themselves in a position like we've been talking about. I mean, that 6th seed is up for grabs. Being able to take one away from Regis here at the very end and being able to come up with a massive 12-run inning in the 7th inning and just continue to pile on and get that win is really big.
Yeah, definitely big. And 18-12. I mean, that's an RMAX score there. I mean, just putting up lots of runs, and I mean, it was crazy. 12-run seventh inning, just impressive, and I just gotta love RMAC baseball.
You gotta love it. I
Yeah,
mean, if you love offense, our Almanac is for you. I will say that.
that's right.
Love home runs, that Almanac is for you.
So let's then go on to the Colorado Christian versus Colorado School of Mines series here. And, game one, I mean, this was literally all Colorado Christian. I mean, and literally, here, Cade Lacey's gets this home run in the top of the first, putting the Ordiggers up 2-0. Mason Hagel Pitt, he doubles to left center, bringing in two runs in the bottom of the second, making uh, it 6-0 Cougars. Then we have in the uh, top of the fourth, Nathan Owens. He is a 2-run home run, and at this point, he's making it 13-0. Carl School Mines. In the fifth, it just keeps going. Mason Hagel Pitt. He's hits a 2-run home run. This goes along with his 2-run RBI double earlier in the game. Kay Lacey, he hits his second home run of the game, making it 16-0 at that point. Lucas Hinsey in the top of the sixth, he's going to hit a 3-run shot, making it 19-0. And Colorado Christian ends up taking this one surprising to me, 20-0 over Colorado School of Mines.
I was very surprised by this as well, but favorite thing right there is the zero. I mean, Zachary Hill did very well on the mound against Mines. I mean, being able to go a complete game, only allowing 2 hits is just really, really awesome. And just again, we talk about the sixth seed. It's helping them being able to be in a spot going into this last weekend. I mean, they're only a game or two behind Regis, and being able to pick up this in convincing fashion is just awesome.
Yeah, and
And I, I will say, looking ahead, I mean, Nathan Owens had a great weekend as well.
yeah, yes, he did. And Zachary Hill, you mentioned that, complete game here. No runs, 7 Ks, just 2 hits for an RMAC game. I mean, yeah, teams put up 20 that last game 4 in the Regis New Mexico Highlands game, 18-12. I mean, to give up 2 hits, I mean, that's absolutely impressive. And of course, we take a look at that, and that's, you know, no surprise there that Zachary Hill ends up getting the pitcher of the week, award for the RMAC for his, stellar performance here in game 1.
Yeah, it really set the tone for him. I mean, great opening game. I mean, best pitching performance of the weekend. I mean, he really came out and showed out.
Yeah, definitely. So heading into game 2, this game, we're tied in the top of the first until Gregory Rangali changes that in a hurry with this, grand slam. He puts Colorado Christians up 5-1. But then in the bottom of second, Mines is gonna, uh, you know, tied up at 5-5. Getting to the bottom of the third, Justin Kubajiri. He triples to center field, basically giving Mines a 6-5 lead. Then Brody Duvall, he's going to hit a 2-run home run to extend that lead to 8-5. Going into the bottom of the sixth, CCU they try to rally. They off of an Aiden Welsh solo shot left field, but that's kind of where the rally ends. Colorado Mines ends up taking game 2 here, 9-6, to tie the series at 1-1. What did you see that kind of stuck out to you in this game? And
I mean, it's a good bounce back win for Mines right there. I mean, you stick with that 20-0 loss on Friday. You come back on a Saturday, and you're like, all right, let's go. We need to make sure that we show out. And you know, Brody Duvall's been great all year for Mines. I mean, he's been one of their staple guys in the lineup, uh, game in and game out, and they were able to score one at the bottom of the first, and even with Christian coming back with the grand slam and tagging a couple along, they were able to battle right back. I mean, scoring every inning from innings 1 through 4, and pitching really doing what they need to do at the end of the game to be able to shut down Christian, even giving up one, but those innings 3 through 7, only giving up 1 run, I'll take that every single day.
yeah, definitely, that's a great job by the pitching staff. There after that second inning to really limit the Cougars with how they have been swinging the bat, not only in game 1, but then through the first 2, innings here in game 2. And you talk about Brody Duvall. Yeah, he's had, a very good year so far this year. Jackson Babcock, another, ore digger that's been having not just a great year, but, just a great career, in general here. And yeah. And so kind of in your experience in, being in the RMAC and, I'd imagine that at least at one point in the nearly the half a dozen years that you went to school at UCCS, it might have been on the wrong end of a lopsided score. Uh,
Just a
how
couple times.
how does that kind of affect the team or the team morale kind of going into that next game? I mean, there's one thing about baseball is that hey, there's always that chance very soon to kind of let the past be in the past and kind of go forward and
Mm.
move on. But when you have a game like that, like 20-0, like Carl Mines kind of found themselves in a buzzsaw in that game 1, what is kind of the mindset of that team kind of going into game 2 when you kind of have that lopsided uh, game like that?
Well, I will say I think it's best when it happens earlier in the series versus later. I think you don't want it to happen the last game because then you got to sit with it for the entire week. But being able to have something on a Friday and you lose 20 nothing, you're able to wake up the next day, wash it, get ready to play, and visualize what you need to do, whether it's pitching, hitting, so on and so forth. And just being able to, wash it, not think too much about it, yesterday's history, and moving on to the next step, moving on to the next play. It looks a little bit different for everyone. For me, I mean, when I had something not go my way, I'd walk around the mound a little bit, take a deep breath. Some guys, it's a grain of sand, it's a grain of grass. You know, everyone's a little bit different, but I having it earlier in the week and being able to bounce back to have a game like this and being able to win, and pitching really being able to step up. Usually, you have a good mindset for the rest of the weekend, and just always being positive and ready to move forward to that next play.
Sure. And yeah, I mean, in Colorado School of Mines, they're, a program that has had, a lot of success, and, I can see them like taking it for what it is. Yeah, it's one of those games where, things just kind of get away from you. And I mean, that stuff happens. But yeah, it's kind of just a class program. Not surprised that they're able to kind of bounce back in game
Mhm.
two and get that win. So. Well, let's then jump into game three. Game three, quite a bit of a slower start than what we've, seen so far here through the first, 5 innings. It's, 3-0, Carl Christian, and thanks in large part to Nathan Owens. He hits a home run over to left field here. Going then, Carl Mines, they, score five, in the sixth to make it 5-4. But then the top of the seventh, we have Gregory Rangel. He gets CU the lead with a 2-run home run to right field. Then going into the top of the eighth, Rangel gets up again and he does it again. He gets another 2-run home run. This one to right field and kind of opens it up. 11-5 Cougars at this point. CCU then takes a 13-5 lead into the bottom of the eighth when Carl Mines Tyler Easter, he hits a 2-run home run. And in the bottom of the ninth, we saw Alex Dunnigan. He tried to get that rally, going, give him some hope, hit that grand slam, make it 13-11. But that's kind of where that rally ends, just 2 runs short. And the Cougars end up taking this one 13-11 to take a 2-1 series lead. Uh, kind of a back and forth like that. I mean, is that yeah, I guess when you have like two teams that are, competitive like that, it's probably not, unfathomable or unthinkable that, this is kind of how the series would go.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the first two games kind of showed us that it's going to go back and forth. I mean, both of the starters for both teams did great. Anytime that you can go 5+ innings and give up 3 or less runs, especially in the RMAC, you're going to live with that every single day. I mean, majority of the time in the RMAC, you're going to have to score 10 runs to win. Um, and just starting pitching, doing their job. And, you get a couple of these mid relief or your closer type of guys showing up here at the very end. I mean, being able to Mines have a throw up a zero in the top of the ninth and give themselves a chance at the very end, even though that they weren't able to pull it out, is still, I mean, you're able to pull out a zero and then, let's see what happens in the ninth. Everything gets crazy in the ninth, especially in RMAC baseball. And, one thing to point out, we see Nathan Owens again. He had, doing his job.
Yep, definitely, definitely. And, Brady Risman, great outing for him. He's been having a great season. Austin DeMello, he came in and, he did what he needed to do. And, he doesn't just get it done on the mound, but he also kind of gets it done at the plate as well for Colorado
Mhm.
Christian there. And, yeah, just it was a great game. I mean, when Dunnigan hits that grand slam in the bottom of the ninth, it's like, oh, here we go. We might be able to see a walk off. You gotta love walk offs, but yeah, but Colorado Christian, they stay poised. They get it done. They get the final out and shut down that rally, and pick up that win, and take a 2-1 lead going into game four. So
And even with a little bit of pushback in the bottom of the ninth, they were able to close it out, which is great to see.
yep, definitely, definitely. Um, going into game four, a little different here. I mean, this is the first time in the series that we see Mines jump out to a big lead. They're going to bring in the first 7 runs of the game. Evan Bilter, had a large role in that. In the first inning, he hits a single to left field, bringing in 2. Then in the third inning, he hits a double to right center, bringing in another 2. He accounts, for the first 4 runs, of the game. Also in the third, Tyler Pina, he comes up and he hits a 3-run, home run, and that's how we get to that 7-0 lead for the Ore Diggers. You know, Colorado Christian, they're going to score 2, but we go to the bottom of the 6th inning. One of my favorite players, Jackson Babcock, he hits a home run over the right field fence here, makes it 9-2. While Austin DeMello, we talked about him pitching, last game. Here he hits a double to right field, bringing in 2 runs, but that's all that the Cougars are able to get in their attempt at a rally here, and the Ore Diggers end up taking this one 9-4, split the series 2 games each, and kind of looking at this series, looking at beforehand. I mean, does a 2-2 split in this series surprise you at all, or kind of what you might have expected?
I think a little bit surprising with how slow Mines was out of the gate for the first 3 games. I think I expected them to come out a little bit quicker on, one of the other games. I think a 2-2 series ties makes sense. I would have been surprised if it would have been 3-1 one of the other ways as well. Both of these teams, I mean, obviously Mines is going to be locked in to be able to be in the tournament, but Christian is making their case as well. And K Jackson being able to go to complete game for Mines right there is really big, and only allowing 4 runs, and all those 4 runs coming in the 6th and 7th inning. Again, we see Brody Duvall, 2 for 3, 3 runs, doing what he does on a daily basis, and just continue pushing forward. I mean, Mines is in a good position right now. I would like to see their offense get going a little bit sooner than what they did this past series, but maybe they'll be able to get going a little bit against Billingsley.
Yeah, and talk about K Jackson. Uh, he's been having a uh, great year. I think it's Jackson K. The K Jackson or I might have that mixed up. I apologize, but he's been having a great year. He had a little bit of a rough outing last weekend. Not the outing that he would have wanted, or that I expected. But for him to bounce back this next week, I mean, that's impressive. But I think it kind of goes to show the kind of what the mentality and mindset that he's made of, and kind of the talent that he has. Um, yeah, I think it was a great series. What I want to say was, in game one, that 20-0, Honeyman for uh, Carl Schoolmine. Yeah, obviously had a rough outing, and uh, but he's, I mean, he's a phenomenal pitcher. I mean, he's had a great career. I know that he has some, nagging, injuries that have kind of been, uh, kind of hindering his performance here and there throughout this season. But you know, in my mind, he's a phenomenal pitcher. Just one of those RMAC games where it's a rough game, but and without the injuries he's having, I don't think that game is even a possibility. But if he was 100%, I think that, yeah, completely different. But yeah, I think the world of him, and I think he's a great pitcher.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think the most surprising thing out of this series was the 20-0 win at the beginning of the series. I mean, that was something I didn't expect. I expected the games to be close, definitely. But for CCU to come out and just, go 20-0 right away was really surprising to me.
Yep, definitely. So, all right, let's take a look then at our next series. And, here we're going to have some highlights from game one. Jimmy Peltier for Pueblo, he gets the Thunderwolves up 1-0 with this home run to left field. But in the bottom of the second, Adam State's Josh Parks, he ties it up with a solo shot of his own. This one to left center, and we're at 1-1. Pueblo is going to build up a 5-2 lead, but then in the bottom of the fifth, Adam Stace, Ryan Van Dever, he has a 3-run home run. Just really the deepest part of the park here, right, over the center field wall, and uh, yeah, they go up 7-5 at that point. Then Cooper Latino, he comes up for Pueblo. He has a 2-run shot over to right center, giving Pueblo the lead back at 7-5. Then Jeremiah Sanchez, he triples in the top of the eighth, bringing in 2 runs, and Pueblo ends up taking this one 10-6. They go up in the series 1-0, and a good win for Pueblo, against an Adams State team that has talent, can put up some runs, and being on the road. I think, yeah, I was impressed with Pueblo's win here.
I was as well. I mean, any day that you have 0 errors in a game, you're going to give yourself the best opportunity to win. Those bats showing up late was great to see. I mean, I think they're starting to play with confidence at the right time. I think they're going to be a pretty dangerous team once it comes to tournament time, even though that they don't have the best track record in the tournament as of recent years. A lot of heartbreaking losses recently, but I mean, it's good to see a close game. Just Adams isn't able to get over the hump. I know that, looking ahead, they were able to do well the next game, but we were looking beforehand, and what was it, 19
Yeah.
or 19 losses or something like that in a row?
So it was, I think they're 1-19 out of the last 20 games is what, yeah, we came up with. And
Mm.
to me that's just surprising. I knew that, without actually looking at it, I just kind of look at the season and kind of recalling, like, yeah, they kind of seem to go on a skid here, which is surprising. With, like, they had Josh Parse, Osaias Inihosa, Seth Recker, Tauscher. They got a lot of talent on that team. To go 1-19 in that last 20 is just surprising. But with that, kind of like Pueblo. They can do a lot of damage. They can definitely, they could easily sweep. Next weekend if they show up and play to their potential. I don't know that they will, but they could with the lineup and the talent that they have on that team. But yeah, they just have not been getting it done the last week or month and a half. At this point. But yeah, definitely pleased to see Pueblo. They've you know the weekend before they took the series against MSU Denver 3-1, which was impressive. So for them to come out on the road, get this win against a explosive team in Adams State, that if they show up, they're gonna put some runs on the board. Yeah, I was, very pleased with their
They're
game.
they're definitely getting hot at the right time. I mean, anytime you're able to take 3 from Metros, that's a big thing. And then, coming out and making sure that it wasn't a fluke, right?
Yep.
And any RMAC team can beat any RMAC team on a weekly basis, but being able to come game one, you get a close game for majority of the game, and then those bats for Pueblo are really, the difference maker at the end of the day for this one.
Yeah, and kind of like you mentioned earlier, doing it at the right time in the season. Like
Yep.
proving it's not a fluke. The second to last weekend of RMAC play before going into the conference tournament. That's when you want to be doing it. So let's take a look at game two. And in game two, Pueblo's going to take a 6-1 lead going into the bottom of the fourth. But, Seth Recker for Adam State, he's going to come up and he's, going to hit a 3-run home run, basically cutting the lead to 6-4. While, uh, Adam State is down then 9-5, going into the six. In the bottom of the six, Aiden Tauscher, he triples right field, bringing in 2, bringing that lead back to, or that deficit back to just 2. Then Seth Recker, he's going to hit his second home run of the game to center field, bringing in 2 more. And in the bottom of the sixth, they take that 11-9 lead, and they end up winning this one over Pueblo 11-9.
And, like we said, this was the one win that they've had in the last 20, 19 or 20 games. I mean, this is a great come from behind win. And really, putting the pieces together at the right time. You get two big innings, you get a 4 and a 6 in there, and being able to close it out, and your closer being able to come in and get that save, even though that he pitched a third of an inning, he was able to come in and get the save, and pitching doing their job late. Pueblo was coming back, but at the end of the day, getting that zero in that seventh inning spot is big.
Yeah, yep. And for Adam State, coming up with 6 runs in that 6th inning, I mean, that's huge for them too. And that's kind of what I was, kind of mentioning when we were looking at game one is that, they have that potential to just put up a
Mhm.
bunch of runs. And that's why to me it's so surprising that, 1 in 20 or 1 in 19 in the last 20 games. But, you know, Osaitis Inihosa, he got the start. Yeah, gave up 6 runs in 4 innings. But, in the RMAC, that's kind of what
It's
happens at
doable.
times. Yeah. Yeah. It's not yeah, not out of reach. Like you said, definitely doable. And uh then of course he gets it done, at the plate as well, and kind of helps yeah, that team, on offense as well. But yeah, so at this point it's tied 1-1, and we're kind of going into that third game. We'll take a look at some of the highlights there. Uh, Pueblo gets 3 runs in the first inning, basically starting off the bat of Tyler Clements, who doubles down the left field line, bringing in Jeremiah Sanchez. Going into the top of the second, we have Tyler Clements again. Here he brings in another run with an RBI, single to left field, bring in Sanchez, once again. In the bottom of the second, Adam State is going to respond here. Seth Recker, he's going to continue the good series that he's been having with a home run to right field. This one a solo shot, making it 5-1. At the top of the third, then we have Logan Kelly for Pueblo coming up with an RBI double to right field, extending the Thunderbolts lead 6-1. In the bottom of the 6th inning, Logan Kelly again, he singles to left field, bring in a run, making it 8-1. And Pueblo's going to end up taking this one by a score of 10-1 and taking the series lead 2-1. What from this game kind of jumped out to you, or what anything surprising that you saw here?
Well, I think, Pueblo took care of business. Being able to come back after giving up those runs in the sixth inning and, good bounce back win here. Pitching showed up, Flores showed up, and did a great job at making sure Adams, didn't really score a whole lot, didn't get a whole lot of hits. But again, as in game one, anytime that you do not have an error in the game, you're going to give yourself the best opportunity to win. And, you know, getting that zero up there's really big. And, it does help when you go score almost every single inning too. That
Sure.
is, um, but, Pueblo showed up the second game. Clemens did well. A lot of these guys did well. And, just that one run for Adams, they weren't able to ride that high from the second game and being able to carry it over to the third game at all. And kind of just fell flat a little bit.
Yeah, and talking about Tyler Clements, I mean, he's one of those players too that gets it done, at the plate and on the mound, as well. I mean, just a great athlete, uh, great baseball player, and definitely an asset for the Thunderbolts team here. But yeah, for them to bounce back after, I'm sure to them was a disappointing loss in game two, to take this one and not just take it, but in convincing fashion, 10-1. You know, uh, Great comeback for the Thunderbolts.
Mhm. Yeah, they took it convincingly.
Yep. And well, let's take a look at game four. I mean, this one, I mean, quite honestly, it was just ridiculous. I mean, it kind of starts off normal, I mean, Josh Parks, he, scored, brought in a run for Adam State, and then Cooper Latino here in the top of the second, he gets a home run, ties it at 1. But then Pueblo goes on and they score 17 runs in the second inning. Pelletier, he gets a 2-run home run here. Tyler Clements, we've talked about before, he gets a 2-run shot, at this point to make it 16-1. And then we're going to see a Cooper Latino come up and he hits one out. And this isn't just the second home run of the game, Hunter. It's the second home run of the inning. And, Yeah, 17-1 after the top of the second inning here, going to the bottom of the sixth. I mean, I'll give it to Adam State. I mean, they didn't give up. They end up at this point here, while the score is a little off, but it 25-15 off of his 3-run home run. But Peltier, he ends up hitting his second home run of the game, a 2-run shot, and but yeah, this one, Pueblo runs away with it 33-17. And this is another one of those game fours on Sunday that was, yeah, just astonishing. I don't know, ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned that there was 100 runs scored on Sunday. I mean, you look at this and it's like we're in April, almost in May. Football's not starting for a little bit, right? And
Right.
it's just like, holy crap. I mean, putting up 17 runs in that second inning, really, I mean, they were they didn't coast either right after that. I mean, third inning you come back with a zero, but they were consistently putting up runs for the rest of the game. And as you said, I mean, give credit for Adams. I mean, you come back and you're down 17-2 going into third inning, a little bit deflating, and they're able to come back with a five. And, that box score is very filled. I mean, you only got three, you got there 4, 5 innings, 5 half innings where you get a zero and everything else is filled. I mean, yeah, it not ending at 7, I will say, is a very good thing for Adams. I mean, trying to take some good from this is, they continued to battle back. They didn't roll over, and they kept it a game for the most part outside of the 17-run inning.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you just looking at the scoreboard here for Adam State. You go across 1 run in the first, one in the second, five in the third. Two. I mean, they're scoring in every single inning. Through the seventh inning. I mean, that's typically a pretty good recipe to get a win. If not for it's like a quicksand inning. Like you just say quicksand. Like nothing. No matter
Yep.
what you do, you just kind of keep sinking. Nothing can kind of go right, and it's just one of those innings. Yeah, put an extremely crooked number up there, and it's even in the RMAC that's tough to overcome.
Extremely tough to overcome. I mean, Pueblo showed up, they did great. And like I said early, like their bats are showing up at the right time. They're putting together games at the right time and being able to take 3 out of 4 from Adams. They probably were thinking that we should have swept them, but and then that week prior taking 3 out of 4 from Metro, they're probably feeling pretty good right now.
And with Pueblo and kind of how they've been playing and with their offense, finally really kind of coming alive and playing up to their potential, I feel is really good sign for them. Kind of like we talked about earlier, coming into this later end part of the season.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, they're showing up at the right time, and this is going to be a dangerous team once it comes to RMAC time.
So I saved the MSU Denver versus UCCS series for last, just for you. Also, I mean, clearly it was the game of our series of the weekend going into last weekend, and it did not disappoint at all. So let's take a look at some of the highlights here, and uh, going into uh, game one. I mean, game one. I'm not even going to start reading through a lot of this stuff, but 14 home runs, uh, 9 by MSU Denver, 5 by UCCS. Marcus Abelhausen, he hits 3 home runs of his own. Bryce Peterson, he's just all everything. I mean, beginning of the year, I kind of predicted him and uh, Kobe Felix over at Mesa kind of being the front runners for the players of the year, and I think that kind of still holds true. Just a phenomenal player, but yeah, 14 home runs this game. MSU Denver, they're going to end up taking this one 19-12. In that third inning alone, MSU Denver hit 4 home runs. 3 of those were back to back to back. You can kind of see that the wind, is gonna, really kind of picked up and was, just kind of really whipping out there. And yeah, I mean, 14 home runs. What were as a former pitcher here in Colorado Springs and having pitched in this ballpark, what was your thoughts when you're seeing the balls just leaving the park here?
Seeing 14 home runs in a game, I don't think you're going to see that a whole lot anywhere. I mean, you know, We used to call it the Mountain Lion Park, and it's just when you're like, "What happened?" It's like Mountain Lion Park happened. Some days it's a launch pad there, and this was one of those days today. I mean, you see the wind a little bit here and there, but just home run after home run after home run, both teams as well. I mean, you and over that right field corner too. I mean, you can hit it off the end of the bat and you can get it out in this park. I mean, it's an absolute launch pad. It's a hitter's dream. It's a pitcher's nightmare. I mean, there's a lot of high scoring games from what I remember when I was playing. I mean, we have football scores every single weekend. And if we were able to lock down and pitch, that's who was going to win.
Right. And, you know, for Ryder Mancuso, obviously he's having a great year and he is a absolutely, phenomenal pitcher. This one was definitely, not characteristic of a performance that you see from him. And then on the other side, Jake Iverson, 6 innings pitched here, giving us 7 runs. But you look at that, I mean, a number of those runs came, they really should. They kept him in basically an inning too long. If they would have taken him out after that 6 inning, I think it would probably been best, for him. But he still picks up that win, going 6-1 this season. He, also a phenomenal pitcher, having a great season. Um,
Season.
yeah, wonderful. So I mean, uh, some numbers from some pitchers that we're not used to seeing from these two pitchers.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it was the Mountain Lion Park effect or what, hitters had a great day or what, but that's something that you usually don't see from both of these guys. I mean, you look at that box score, I mean, every person on there has a freaking home run.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
oh my goodness. I mean, you know, Trevor Dale continues his great season. I mean, he's up to 25 home runs now, but going 4 for 4. Bryce Peterson having a great day as well, just not being enough to combat with all those home runs that Metro had. And, going back to back to back in the third inning is just it's a killer.
yep, yeah. Peterson getting 5 RBIs and and 2 solo shots, at that. But yeah, looking at Marcus Abelhausen, 2 solo home runs, a 2-run home run. I mean, just absolutely phenomenal day. In as we'll see, a phenomenal series, for him. So
And, one more thing with, Metro fallen 3 out of 4 from Pueblo. This is a nice comeback win for them.
definitely, and I think one that they needed, especially as they're going to be going into this final weekend. And UCCS, they are a very, very good team. So for them to, get a win like this, and as we'll see, throughout this series, definitely has to, have MSU Denver on a high, at this point and feeling good, kind of going into the end of RMAC play here.
Exactly.
Yeah. Uh, Going into game two, the home runs kind of continued in game two, but not nearly to the extent that we saw in game one. Here, MSU Denver has 4 home runs. UCCS gets one. Braden Orem starts it off for the Roadrunners with that solo shot right center. Then Tyler Genrich, he responds with a home run for the Mountain Lions in the fifth. And Lathan Lazard, he, gets a 2-run home run in the sixth. Then it comes up in the seventh, and he hits a solo shot to left field for his second home run of the day. In the seventh, Michael Dietz, he gets a 2-run shot to left field here, making it 8-1. Final score is going to be Roadrunners taking it 8-2 and take a 2-0 lead in the series. What were your thoughts after seeing that game one with 14 home runs, and then MSU Denver taking that, and then taking game two?
I mean, obviously some regression with the home runs here, but um, really close game for the first 4 innings, 5 innings. I mean, both teams are right there. Joe McDermott threw a great game for the most part. I mean, going 6 innings and only allowing 3 earned. I mean, ever since he's been back in the rotation, he's done very well for the Mountain Lions. And then, Metro being able to just pull away at the very end. again, has got to feel good, especially with them losing 3 out of 4 and putting themselves in a good position. I mean, really taking a solid lead in that second position now. The mountain lions just weren't able to hit. You get some hits here and there, but compared to the first game, the bats weren't able to show up, and you hardly see that out of UCCS throughout this year. I mean, they're leading in batting average, and they have 100 home runs as a team. I mean, and that's top in Division Two, and they just weren't able to show up. Garcia did a great job, minimalizing everything.
Yeah, when you can hold a team that has Trevor Dale, Tyler Genrich, you know just amazing players to just 2 runs. Is yeah, even I'll just point it out here. You look at UCCS's highlights here. It is very, very rare that you do not see, Bryce Peterson, up there. And, for, the Roadrunners to, basically limit him in this game too, and really kind of limit Dale and Genrich, to 1 hit apiece. That's impressive.
Very impressive. I mean, not a lot of teams have been able to do that this year. I mean, this has been one of the best offenses in the country.
Yep, definitely. Let's take a look at game 3. And here, UCCS, they're going to get, an RBI double from Tyler Genrich in the bottom of the second to go up 2-0. And then in the bottom of the third, Trevor Dale, does what he does. I mean, he gets a 2-run home run over the left field wall here, and UCCS gets up 4-1. But they're playing the Roadrunners. And at the top of the fifth, Brooks Rasmussen, he doubles to center field, bringing in 2 runs, giving the Roadrunners their first lead of the game, 5-4. Then in the bottom of the fifth, we have Tyler Genrich with an absolute big shot, momentum builder here. He gets a grand slam right here, gives UCCS a 9-6 lead, and like I said, not only kind of takes back that lead, but takes the momentum in this one, and as a result, the Mountain Lions are going to end up taking this one 12-6. They get game 3, and the series is now 2-1 after 3 games, and kind of going into a pretty interesting game 4.
Yeah, I mean, last 2 games have been going pretty close, and then one team's been able to pull away at the end. I mean, being able to put a 7 spot in the fifth inning is huge. I mean, Genrich, or we call him Genny, is being able to get that grand slam is just huge. I mean, he's been playing great this year, um, and props to Fink for coming in and getting the win. It hasn't gone well this season for him at times, but been a supportive teammate and being able to do what he needs to do at the end of the day, and it sets up an interesting rubber match going into the fourth game.
Yeah, and just you mentioned Fink. That doesn't surprise me at all that he's able to come in and do his job and get that done, and kind of help actually picks up the win, uh,
Mm.
going 2-2 on the season so far. But yeah, he's just a team guy, great player, great pitcher. Yeah, not surprised at all. So uh, going into game 4, I mean, we gotta love game 4s this last weekend. I mean, this one was kind of, but I mean, this one was all Roadrunners. I mean, they just scored early and often. In the first inning, they put up 8 runs. Uh, you know, Marcus Abelhausen, he has this triple to right field, bringing in 2 runs. I mean, that makes it 7-0 right there, and that's 7 of the 8 in that first inning there. But then we go into the bottom of the second, and Tyler Genrich, he home runs, hits a 2-run home run, making it 13-2. Then in the top of the fifth, Alec Martinez, he hits a solo shot to center field, and it's going to be 15-6. And MSU Denver in this 6th inning, I mean, they just go on another tear. They score 10 runs here. I mean, we get a grand slam from Royce Van Dyne. That's going to make it 21-0. Then Alec Martinez, he gets a home run here, his second of the game, getting it 22-6 in the 7th. Basically capping off a huge or capping off his great weekend. Marcus Abelhausen, he gets a 3-run home run to left field. And MSU Denver takes game four, 29-6, and end up winning this series 3-1. What do you believe is kind of the mindset of MSU Denver coming out of this series and this game, and what's the mindset of UCCS coming out of this series in this game?
Well, I will say first, looking into the Sunday game, this is the last thing I expected this game to be after, both games 1 through 3 being relatively close and a battle back and forth. I mean, if you're Metro, you got to feel ecstatic right now. I mean, UCCS, Metro, and Mesa are your top 3 teams right now, and being able to, they are going to have a lot of confidence being able to go and play Mesa next weekend. And this is exactly what they needed after dropping 3 out of 4 from Pueblo, being able to score a ton of runs your last game, but then also just scoring throughout, and 48 runs throughout the entire weekend, I believe, or maybe a little bit more, but you got to feel great if you're Metro right now. If you're UCCS, go back to the drawing board a little bit. Pitchers didn't have a great weekend. I don't expect that to happen again. Erickson's done well this year too, and to see that stat line out of him is a little bit surprising. He's won pitcher of the week a couple times this year already, and they got to get ready for Pueblo, and they know that that's going to be a battle, and they got to go into Pueblo, and they're going to have to win, 3 out of 4 or sweep, or at least split, and get some confidence going into the tournament.
Yeah, take that in the tournament, then you know kind of use that momentum to hopefully make that regional round of the national tournament. And we can see that they can put up runs, and they got great pitching with Syverson and those guys, and their team, they get in that national tournament. I mean, hey, you have good pitching, and you can put up some runs. I mean, that's a good recipe to make a run in a tournament play.
Yeah, got a chance.
And speaking of Marcus Abelhausen, I mean, what a phenomenal series this guy had, and no doubt that he's the player of the week award winner for this last weekend. I mean, just absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I don't think you. I mean, it was almost every other inning you were hearing his name. He was doing something amazing.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, he had a great weekend. I know Mountain Lion fans are a little bit overhearing his name after.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. Well, and that kind of rounds out the weekend games. So let's kind of start taking a look at next weekend. I know we're kind of excited and talked about a little bit as the show has gone on here, but yeah, the first series that we'll look at here, UCCS versus Pueblo, being down in Pueblo. You know, Pueblo's coming off a 3-1 series win, against Adams State, and UCCS. They're coming off that 3-1 series loss to MSU Denver. And I mean, what are your kind of thoughts of this series, kind of with the teams coming off of what they had and what they're looking at going forward here?
Well, I expect tomorrow, Thursday game, Mancuso being able to bounce back in some capacity. I know that he wore that one pretty well, and I know he's going to be able to bounce back in some capacity. But looking game by game basis, this is going to be a really good series. Outside of Metro and Mesa, this is going to be the second best series in my opinion. Um, and it's really going to come down to, is UCCS be able to put away these Pueblo hitters in timely fashion and be able to put them away in big spots. It's definitely going to be a battle when they get down there. If I'm going to make a prediction, I am going to obviously take UCCS. I think that they'll bounce back. I think they'll win 3 out of 4. I think that they'll get the momentum going into the tournament. They've fared really well against the RMAC and just other teams in general this year. I mean, once they got swept by Mesa a couple weeks ago, they were able to bounce back and have a really good weekend. I expect more of the same. I know those boys are really pulling to send Dave Hadjic into retirement on a good note.
Sure. And with this, UCCS and Pueblo being so close to each other. I mean, uh, is this kind of a rivalry game? Like you having played in this series, like how what is this series like as a player, kind of going into this series every year?
It's one of the funnest ones. I think, it's up there with Mesa, being able to play Mesa, but we think that playing Pueblo is a true rivalry at this standpoint. I mean, a lot of close games, a lot of games back and forth. I mean, and there's been some tensions from time to time. I mean, there's been several years where I can remember where there was a lot of tension between us and Pueblo, and they're right down the road. They're only an hour away, and we. I know UCCS really does not like Pueblo, and it's a true rivalry game. I mean, I think out of every team for Pueblo and every team for UCCS, like this is the one that you look forward to at the end of the year. You get to play each other at the end of the year, right into the end of the tournament, and more times than not, they end up playing each other in the tournament too.
Sure. And kind of with it being, kind of that series where there's tensions can get high, and you what have you noticed as far as whether home field advantage, does that exist in this series? Is that a thing, or is it, with the kind of rivalry we have? I mean, you could go play in backyard anywhere and you're just going to slug it out, and how does home field play a role in this series is what I'm trying to ask you.
I do think it plays an effect. At UCCS you have the Mountain Lion Park, which is a launch pad. Pueblo's not so much. You got the higher wall there, which won't play to UCCS as much, just because from a home run standpoint. But I don't know if they're going down and playing at the fields down there that they have for the Night in a Park, or I forget what it's called, but I know Pueblo holds one of those each year. But it does factor in. Pueblo has a nice facility, and it really comes down to who's been able to pitch from years prior. I mean, the one that sticks to me with playing them was we were up in that last inning, in the seventh or ninth inning, and you know Pueblo walks us off with a grand slam, and then we continue the series, and just super back and forth. Just making statements back and forth. This is going to be a huge emotional weekend. A lot of stuff going back and forth, a lot of momentum going back and forth, whether it's big errors or big hits or just big pitching performances. I mean, I could not pinpoint to you at what we're going to see. I mean, we might see one of the Pueblo guys go out and throw a complete game, or we might see one of the UCCS guys throw a complete game, just because this is that type of series.
Yeah, and I think you are 100% right. I think Mancuso bounces back, and I would not be surprised if we don't see a complete game out of him, even in game one for nine inning game. I mean, he's that type of a player, and
Mhm.
that good of a pitcher. Can, definitely see him coming back and pitching great. So to be clear, you're going with UCCS or at
3 out of 4.
three
I
out of
do think Pueblo's going to take one. I think all of the games are going to be close, though.
yeah.
I think, just based off of what we've seen the last 2 weekends from Pueblo, I mean, their confidence is up. They're making timely hits at the right time, and I think all 4 of these games are going to be really close. I think that UCCS is going to edge them out by a little bit, though, each game. I will say, if I'm going to make a bold prediction, I think one of the games goes into extra innings.
Okay, and I I feel that we have the way that Pueblo is playing now, kind of like you mentioned, the last couple weekends here. They're playing like the Pueblo team that I expected to see at the beginning of the year. And with that, I mean, I think we're truly seeing like two very, good teams, battling against each other here. With it being, in Pueblo, uh, I'm going to go with a series split here. I think it's 2-2. I mean, I kind of, if
No, I
Pueblo,
agree with I agree you. I can't bring myself to say a split.
no, I understand. I just think if it wasn't for how Pueblo have been playing the last 2 weekends, I would almost go with UCCS with a sweep here. But man, I really feel like Pueblo has kind of turned it around. Turned that corner, righted the ship, and they have so much talent on that team. Like Sanchez, Latino, uh, Logan. They're just so good and so talented, and for them to kind of have the start to the season that they had, was surprising to me. The last couple weeks is not surprising at all. But yeah, UCCS is a great team as well, and I think this. I
And I really think looking at it, like there is a very high possibility that we see both of these teams in the first round of playoffs. I mean, both Mancuso and Luke, if they both throw first game, I mean, you know what you're getting. You just played each other a couple days ago. Like, I think with how the standings are, it's a pretty high possibility that they're gonna play each other round one.
and I want to see all of them that we can. I'm here for it. It's going to be great series, great weekend. You mentioned the MSU Denver, Mesa. Maybe being the series of the weekend. I don't know. This one to me is like absolutely. Yeah, I'm ready for it. It's gonna be fun to watch this one for sure. All right, let's take a look then at New Mexico Highlands versus Colorado Christian, and yeah, what's your take of this one? Or are you kind of expecting or anticipate out of this series?
Christian looked really well last weekend. They did a great job with mines. New Mexico Highlands wasn't able to get over the hump in a couple of the games. I am going to take Colorado Christian here. I think they're going to make things a little bit interesting. I think they, I could see a split, but I think with how that they have played and really the convincing win 20-0 and then coming back 13 to 11, I mean, I think that they're going to be able to win 3 out of 4, and they're going to put the rest of the teams, Regis and Adams, in a tough position moving forward. I think Christian is able to get it done. Zachary Hall comes back and throws another gem against Highlands. And if they can get a good game out of your game 2 starter, your game 4 starter, I think they're going to look in a good spot. Obviously, they don't control their own destiny, but they're going to need a little help. But I think their bats are coming alive at the right time. Pitching is coming alive at the right time. Better late than never. But I think I got Christian 3 out of 4 this weekend.
Sure. I think a lot of this is going to depend upon New Mexico Highlands pitching staff here.
Hmm.
They have been getting great performances out of their starting pitchers with Baltazar, Reyes, and Brion, especially. Um, you know, Brion, I think, is one of the best pitchers in the conference. True freshman, just absolutely amazing season that he had. The 2-5 record does not even come close to.
Doesn't tell the whole story at
No,
all.
no, not at all. I mean, he's just phenomenal. But Baltazar and Reyes, they've been pitching, very well the last couple weekends. It, Colorado Christian, if they can get to the starting pitching of Highlands, that's a plus. Worst case scenario, they get, wait till the starting pitchers get out of there, and that's kind of seems where Highlands has been, really struggling, really throughout the year. But Highlands, they're a team where they're right in everything. I mean, they're just right there. I think it's going to be a great series. I think that all the games are going to be close.
It's a
This is really a tough one. It really is. But with it being at Colorado Christian, I think it's probably going to be the Cougars 3-1. If it was in Highlands, I'd probably go the other way around or maybe a series split. But yeah, with it being at Colorado Christian, I say the Cougars take it 3-1. Let's take a look at the next game then, and yeah, here's one they kind of mentioned earlier: Mesa versus MSU Denver. What are your thoughts on this one?
This is gonna be a great series. I know that with Mesa or with Metro not sweeping UCCS, that it opened. Mesa's going to host. If not, then it would have been a very interesting series to see if Metro could win 4 straight games to be able to host. But that UCCS Pueblo series might overtake this one, but this is going to be a really good series. I think the question comes down to is anyone going to be able to beat Mesa before we get into tournament play? Is anyone able to get one game from them and just show that they're beatable? I think it's going to be pitching heavy. I think Metro is going to have to show up from a pitching standpoint. You're going to have a couple games in there where they're going to have to catch up and hit, but they got to be in a really good space right now with how they performed last weekend against UCCS with all the home runs and runs. But this Thursday game is going to be a pitcher duel. I hope, at least.
Right.
After last weekend, you hope to see something like that. Both guys have been fantastic this year, and it's tough. I think I think Metro takes one. Um, I can see Mesa going, finishing RMAC play 32-0 and finishing the year 46-3. But I I think that Metro will be able to knock off at least one game. Um, I think, I'm going to take Mesa 3-1. I think somebody will be able to beat Mesa going into the RMAC play. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if Mesa does a full sweep here.
Sure. And if there's a team that can beat Mesa, I mean, it would be MSU Denver that can come up and get game or two or possibly even three. But
Yeah.
I mean, they got the bats and the pitching to you know win games. Obviously, I mean they're a great team, 23-5 in conference play, 35-11 overall. They've been ranked a couple different times this year, and yeah, coming off of a great series against UCCS. With it's I'm excited to see how the MSU Denver's bats do against the Mesa pitching staff. I mean, with Reuter and uh, Eisenhower, even Lunsford being a true freshman, also, he's having a great year as well in the starting rotation now. Um, that's going to be yeah fun to watch. I just have this Mesa team just seems like a team of destiny here. I mean,
Yeah.
the way that they've been playing, all year. I mean, they've been in a couple close games. They had some really good games against UCCS, um, but they find a way to win. I mean, and that's what winners do. And Mesa, they're just impressive this year. And I'm one of those guys where like, hey, I'm show me. Mesa hasn't shown me that they can lose yet, so I'm going with a Mesa sweep in this one. If MSU Denver, proves me wrong, hey, go for it. I'm here to watch it, and but yeah, I think with God, what Mesa has, I mean, Colby Felix, Cameron Cartwright. I mean, it just goes down the line with these guys. They're impressive. Both on the mound, on the plate, in the field. Um, yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Mesa, with the sweep in this one, but definitely gonna
And
be fun to watch.
and like you said, it's going to come down to how the Metro bats are going to do against the Mesa pitching. I mean, that's going to show us what's going to happen. I mean, it's going to be a really good series, and it's going to be a really good series going into the RMAC play. Maybe we get Mesa going 28 straight games with winning streak. I mean, that would be kind of nuts going into the tournament. But you know, they show that they can field, they can hit, and they can pitch more so than any of the other teams in the RMAC right now. And that there is a reason why they are the number one team in Division Two.
Yep. And same time, I'm excited to see Marcus Abelhausen and Alec Martinez, and let's see them up there against you see how they fare against Reuter, and I mean that's just gonna be matchups that you just love to see, just live to watch and experience, and yeah, I'm glad I'm gonna be able to experience it. That's for sure. Let's take a look then at our next series. We got Adams State, going to Regis, and This is a big one for both these teams. I mean, both teams are still in contention. Like I said, Regis, if they can win three these four, uh, you know, they've clinched the spot. I mean, they're the team that controls their own destiny out of these, for that sixth seed here. So, yeah, what do you see and kind of anticipate or expect out of this series?
This is going to be a really interesting series. I mean, both teams have had, Adams has been struggling a lot lately, but Regis didn't look that great over the weekend either. I mean, like being have some close games, I think Regis is going to, take care of business and they're going to be able to put themselves in the playoffs. But um, there was a lot of creeping back from New Mexico Highlands last week when they played Regis, and I worry about that a little bit when we look at Adams and they had a bunch of chunks where they scored a lot of runs last weekend, and big innings. If Regis is able to limit those big innings, then I think they're going to be okay. I do think that they're going to take care of business and they're going to be able to lock up that sixth seed. But again, who doesn't love a little bit of chaos? I mean, if Adams wins two or even three games, it's all right. Here we go. What's going to happen? But with that being said, I think Regis is going to be able to edge out Adams. I am actually going to. I have it written down that I was going to take Regis 3-1, but I think this is going to be a split actually.
Okay. So I, as you're talking here, I pulled up Adams State's schedule, and so just kind of looking at it because we mentioned it a couple times. I just want to make sure that we get it correct here. They, basically everything kind of started going downhill for Adams State when it came to that Colorado uh, Springs 4-game series March 20th, and they got swept by UCCS. Then the next weekend they get swept by MSU Denver, then swept by Mesa. I mean, talk about a rough schedule. Having those three teams back to back to back, weekends like that. I mean, that's going to be rough for anybody. Then they play Highlands, and Highlands sweeps them. So then they're 0-16 there. The next series was this last series against Pueblo, where they went 1-3. So yeah, they're uh, you know 1-19 in the last 20 games, and if it and it's solely because of that
And
that I think it's going to be Regis. You know, with it being at home, honestly, I think Regis is probably going to sweep this one. Just there's something going on. In the program right now. They have great players over there. Inhosa, Josh Parks, Seth Recker. I mean, there is talent on that team, but there's I don't know if it's a mindset or mentality. There's not able to get it done. Yeah, I think it probably just carries over this week.
and I agree with you. I could definitely see a sweep. I do want to see a little bit of a chaos. Um, you know, see what happens. I mean, even we stated that they're 1-19 in their last 20 games, and they still have a shot to be able to potentially make the tournament, which is crazy to think about. I mean, um, I could definitely see a Regis sweep, but I'm like I said, I'm hoping for maybe a little bit of chaos where you know I think Regis does get in at the end of the day, but it's gonna be close.
And I think Ethan Wood is going to have a series.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna be fun to watch. That's for sure. And yeah, just with Adam State playing the way they are, yeah, it's just rough in Alamosa right now. But you
Mhm.
know, hopefully sunnier days are ahead for them. But then we go into the last game we have. It's a non-conference matchup between Carroll School of Mines and MSU Billings. Going to be you know in Billings, Montana for this one. You know MSU Billings, remember the Great Northwest Athletic Conference. They're currently second, but there's only five in the conference. 24-20 overall record, 18-11 conference record. You know 12-5 at home. It's kind of probably disappointing for Colorado Mines to see, but it's a trip up there to Billings from Golden. So what do you think, I mean, I don't know a whole lot about the Billings team other than kind of what the generic stats are kind of telling us here, but yeah, the concern of 12-5 and then having to travel from Golden all the way up there, kind of having a series that against Regis this last weekend that I'm sure the Ore Diggers wishing would have went a little different than it did, but it's a new day and new series. What do you guys think or anticipate?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't know a ton about Bailey's. I do know that one of their coaches is an old UCCS player, Matt Jeffreyon. But you know, if your mind you're really looking just for a feel good weekend, getting ready for the tournament, making sure all systems are a go. If you're able to scrap a couple wins away, that's great. Really what you're looking for is guys doing fundamental things, not a lot of errors, pitching doing what it needs. I wouldn't be surprised if they do pitch a lot of their bullpen this weekend, um, and getting guys some work, getting guys some extended innings, just preparing for the RMAC tournament. I mean, that's kind of what you can do at this point at this point of the season. They're not going to move anywhere. They're going to get the 2 seed, and whether that's Metro or maybe a UCCS pops up there, um, but if your mind you're looking to build off of last weekend, outside of the 20-0 game, they were in there every single game, and you're just looking to really build on top of that, make sure that your offense is doing what it needs to do and pitching is being able to back it up.
Definitely. And here I finally have Jackson K's name right. They're in the right order here. So I apologize for that, Jackson. Yeah, he is a absolutely phenomenal pitcher. Having a great year, and I think he's going to have a good outing this weekend as well. I think Honeyman, he bounces back and he has a good outing. The question is kind of like how much work are they really going to get in? With the tournament coming up. And with it being on the road. I think that'll be a little tough, but yeah, I think they kind of use this as a tune up to, get prepared for that, conference tournament and just kind of have a fun road trip out of it and, get ready here. So,
Mhm. And you know, just not this series, but some of the other series. If standings get solidified, you can definitely see some of these teams starting to pull back some of their starters or some of their pitchers because you play and then your game one's on Wednesday. You're starting Wednesday versus your regular Friday. I mean, some games are starting on a Friday, some games are starting on Thursday this week. So if standings get solidified, don't be surprised if some of these teams, you know, start watching pitch counts or making sure that guys are ready or getting guys extended work.
yeah, definitely, definitely. Um, well, that kind of gets us through the, our show here. Just kind of in, kind of wrapping things up a little bit. I do want to tell everybody a couple things here. Obviously, going to be doing the RMAC Baseball Conference Tournament Pick'em Challenge. So if anybody wants to get in on that, definitely hit me up, send me a DM, send me a, email, rmacinsider@gmail.com. I would love to have you. One of the, my favorite parts about this, we have a group chat going and, they'll, definitely start picking up, but to be able to talk about the games with other, fans from around the conference, while they're going on or afterwards. I mean, it's fun. You gotta get to know, some of the other people, and it seems like baseball is kind of a little bit different than the other sports that I cover, where even the players from the other teams are really liking and kind of encouraging and supporting players from the other teams, and it just seems like a closer camaraderie or just a closer group. And I'm not quite sure what all that's into that, but that's just kind of the experience that I've had, and just kind of makes it enjoyable. And as a result of the pick'em and the group chats, I've met a lot of great people, including yourself. And again, can't thank you enough for jumping on. But yeah, I think it's just a fun time. No cost or anything like that, and just yeah, you pick some games and pick some scores, and it's just fun. So would encourage everybody that's interested, uh you know yeah, give it a shot. It's a good time. I mean, if you don't like good times, yeah, don't text me or email me, but yeah, if you like a good time, let me know. Um,
I
but yeah, go
jump
ahead.
in, but I completely agree. I mean, I last year was the first year that I did the Pick'em challenge, and that was a ton of fun. I mean, there was a lot of people in the group chat. If you're at the game or if you're not at the game, you know exactly what's going on. I mean, and being able to see how you stack up against each other. I want to say last year there was a good amount of people, and it was a lot of fun to be able to try to predict some games. Some of them you're right on. Some of you are like, what was I even thinking? Um, and I would highly recommend it. I had a great time doing it last year.
I appreciate that. Uh, the other thing I'll mention is that on, it's not Twitter, X, my X account on Instagram, I have a link, posted where I'm trying to keep track and find out where guys are going to be playing summer collegiate, baseball this year. I like to kind of follow everybody during the summer that I can and kind of, do some posts and kind of, just continuously promote the talent that we have here in the RMAC. Because I do think it is, undervalued or not appreciated enough. And I think if more people were aware of that, they're going to start following, the players more, following the games more, following the conference more, and I just enjoy it as much as I do. So to the players out there in the conference, if you'd please jump on, click on the link, go in and just type your name and where you're going to be playing this summer. I'd really appreciate that. I just want to follow you. It makes my summer, more interesting too. And my boys and I, we love it. And, we try to, travel around a little bit, get away, check out some ballparks, some new places, and, kind of, meet a player here and there. And it's just an enjoyable time. So yeah, if you can do that, that'd be great. But yeah, again, can't thank you enough, Hunter, for helping me out here. Really appreciate it. And yeah, having parting words or anything you'd like to say?
Well, I appreciate you letting me come on in the first place. I know it was a little bit of a last minute thing, but this was great. This was a great time talking about baseball, taking a little bit of step away, and really diving into these series. What happened last week, upcoming. I mean, there's a lot of interesting things that are happening weekly. A lot of different players showing up. Some you expect, some you don't expect, but this was a lot of fun. I appreciate you giving me the chance to come on here and talk some baseball with you. But one thing that I would say is um, UCCS Dave Hadrick's retiring at the end of the year, and I just want to wish him a good retirement.
Great. Yeah, I wish him a great retirement too. He's had a great career, and definitely is going to be missed, and I'm sure loved by lots. And but yes, sign of a great coach, and so yeah, best of luck to him in his retirement. So that's all I got. So I thank you again, Hunter, and and have everybody have a great weekend watching some great RMAC baseball as we get the tournament seating solidified here and get ready for some RMAC tournament play. So until next weekend, thank you all.